Okay, it is 9:54. Let's go over GTII. I did have one trade and an attempt to buy. I didn't get filled, unfortunately, but at 9:32 I did try a setup that didn't work out, but it did a little bit later. I bought 30 shares right here at 527 and a half. I got in it right here. Why? Because it looks like something that was going to potentially offer a morning spike. I like how I had like a dip right here with all of this volume. And then I wiped out, in theory, a lot of the sellers. And then it started the uptrend and broke past VWAP. And it looks like it was going to break the very important resistance level of yesterday, which was the 530. And it was not able to do it right here when I got in. I did get out the next minute, 9:33 at 519. So again, I was here roughly, and then I got out right here at 519. It did downtrend a bit more. It basically held VWAP for the most part, and there was a point where I could have entered here. I hesitated, and that's what I get. It uptrended. It got to the 540s, and then it was trading in this range for a while, and I at this point drew a trend line from here to here, and I like how it broke the trend line just a little bit. But then it immediately decided to make a move towards the upside, especially when a very large seller, not a seller, but actually a bid, a 10,000 share bid, showed up at the bid, and I tried to buy, and there was a lot of chance for me to have gotten filled at 550, but I did not get filled, and that just sucks. And it's uptrending, and I want to see what I can do. Obviously, I would stick to this trend line right here. Maybe I'd sell like a third of my position in the 560s, and then hold the rest to see what it can do over a longer period of time. But yeah, I tried this one. This one could have worked out. I didn't. And then I hesitated on this one. It worked out. Then I just didn't get filled here. So a little unfortunate. I do have some other things I have to work on. And if it just seems like it's not my day, I'm just not going to get filled or whatever. That's totally fine. I'll just work on those other things. But in the meantime, I'll keep looking at this for any potential setups that might show up later. I'll make an update later. Okay, it is 2:45 p.m. and I'm gonna be down a little bit more than I usually am today, but I think that's fine. I gave it a good try, and I want to see if this thing can eventually bounce, even without me. And I remember a very long time ago, and I was able to get a screenshot of it because I, do these daily day trading recap, whatever you want to call it. And the idea was is that a very long time ago, TGGI back in January this year had a super big drop. As you can tell, it went dramatically down, and wow, it had a really big bounce. Of course, it didn't have to happen this time, although it still can. And this one's a bit uglier. I didn't see it initially. I saw it a bit later. I traded two times, and then the third time I traded it a lot more carefully. And then at this point, I want to see if it can try to bounce, even if it does it without me. That's totally fine. But I did try at 221 right here when it was looking like it was trying to break past this downtrending trend line for the first time. And maybe my issue here was that I should have probably have just waited until it actually broke past it. I did try. I bought 15,000 shares at the 30 sub penny level, which is a small position size, but it could easily break the low, which is 23, and then head to the 15s, and that's actually a really big change in terms of percent difference. And then I did get out. This was kind of unfortunate, but I did get out the 2 minutes later at 223, which was right here when it wasn't trying to bounce out of the trend line like I thought, and it kept downtrending, and I thought it was going to continue to follow it. I did get out at 26. This was my first attempt in the worst trade. And then the second one wasn't so bad. I tried again at right here at 224, right around here when it was looking like, okay, it's actually out of the downtrending trend line now, and it's subtrending, and now it might try to ideally break above the 30 sub penny resistance level and then make a move towards VWAP. And I did try it for that reason, and that was 15,000 shares again at the same level at this 224 time period. And of course, unfortunately, big ugly red candle 2 minutes later, almost the most amount of volume besides this one right here, this section. And I did get out at 27, and Yeah, I could have done better with the first one because, after it had like the downtrend and the wick and everything and the scariness, it did, regain itself and I could have sold for break even. But I think I could have avoided the first trade altogether simply by not buying it unless it, breaks past the trend line. And then the second one wasn't so bad. And then I tried one more time thinking, all right, well, I've learned from this before where you can be like emotional with all the volume, all the price action and everything, but you forget the big picture. And I remember the big picture, you know, would it be a move towards a day low and breaking it, right? So I liked how it held this channel right here and it never got below 26. And I did buy now a little bit less size because in theory, if this setup works, whether I have 10 or 15,000 shares is going to be super profitable. I bought 10,000 shares at 29 and that was at 240 right here. At 240 right here, I bought at 29 and I gave it time and I said it's either going to, make a move towards VWAP and that's going to be profitable, or it's going to break this level that it was able to hold the 26 level and I'll be cutting the trade. And that's what happened, unfortunately, when, it broke the 26 support level and then we were actually getting hits at 25. I got out right here and that was at 25 and now it's been trading back and forth. Sure, it could bounce back. I also like to hear the last trade because it looks like a potential inverse head and shoulders, shoulder, head, and then like a little baby shoulder, and then it could do a move towards VWAP. And on top of that, proof that it has done something like this before where it had like a huge 70% drop and then it has like a really nice bounce back. Of course, it didn't have to bounce all the way back. Maybe even a sell in the 70, so penny level would have been, close to a triple. So that was the idea with this setup, and it can still do it and, do it in a really ugly way. But I think the longer it takes for it to do something like that, the less likely it's going to. I do like how overall the volume has been fading, and that was also another reason why I took the trade right here. But again, it didn't just work. It didn't work out, and I mean, in theory, it hasn't broken the day low, which is the sub penny 23 level. So if I were to risk that ultimate level, in theory, that could still play out when you just take a dip buy and then you risk the day low and you just don't care about the price action. And, ideally, if it works out, it can make a move towards the upside and be super profitable. But I did just move it a little higher to this 26 level break because, in theory, if it breaks this level after all of the crazy price action here, it could be a lot of slippage, a lot of slippage. So that's another thing to take into consideration. I'll make an update as to what this one does. Another thing is that this one happened around 12 a.m. So not 12 a.m., 12 p.m. There was still time for it to bounce back and everything. This one is a bit later, so it has less time to do it, but it can obviously do a lot an hour from now. If I had to guess, it's going to make a move above VWAP and I'll just miss out somehow. But maybe next time I can trade it better, or at least, if it doesn't work out, not lose as much or make as many mistakes again. Trying to set up here, when the trend line hasn't broken yet. Of course, I wasn't there when this happened, but this would have been nice. Let's see if it would have offered a trend line break, maybe from this one because it just kept accelerating the downtrend. Yeah, like it broke past it very cleanly, the trend line, and then an entry at 27 would have been nice. A bit shaky, but I guess if you keep the big picture in mind, the day low, it would have been a possibility to sell as high as a 40 sub penny level, and that would have been super profitable. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll make an update later as to what this one does. Yeah, it sucks that I, lost and everything, but it could have worked out and I could have been very profitable, especially with the last try here. And the second one where it actually broke past the trend line and it could have just started the uptrend right then and there. Yeah, that's it. I'll make an update, just going over what it does at the market close. It is 3:10. I'm in a position. This is probably going to be my last try, but I like how we broke this downtrending trend line. The price action's been getting a little different. Volume faded, and it looks like, in theory, best case scenario, volume comes back, but now towards the upside, not the downside. It's just very different price action from the way it's trading. I like how, had this trend line right here and then it kind of broke past it here, but then it downtrended a little. It even got to the day low, which is 23, and it didn't break past it. And now it looks like it's trying to do something different. And I will be cutting it if we break below the day low. I'll make an update later as to what this one does. Obviously, the setup can still fail, but I think this is the last try I'm going to give this one. Okay, it is 10:30 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be down on the day 19 bucks and 90 cents, and that was one trade with GTII that didn't work out, and then I had four with TGGI that didn't work out either. And I think the lesson for today, which is something that's going to ideally, if I keep going with this day trading and keep getting better and I trade larger sizes, this is going to be worth so much money. Try Tsunami Panic Bounce setups only once, risking the day low, and that's it. I also need to wait for a trend line break too, so I guess that's not it, but those two things are going to be huge. And I did try TGGI here when it was downtrending. One setup didn't work out. This one I could have completely avoided right here because I traded it while it was still under the trend line, although it looked like it was trying to get out of it. And then I did try it again, the second one, and this one didn't work out. But at this point, this one was the one I got out of the trend line, and then it failed right here, this big red candle. I could have been in at 30. I could have risked the day low, which would have been 23, and I wouldn't have been shaken out when it had the big, red candle right here. And then I wouldn't have tried it again because I would still have that original position, and I would have cut it right when it broke 23, and maybe you sell into 22. I would have had just one trade, and I would have lost $8. Instead of losing $8, I lost a lot more. I lost 6, 4, that makes 10, 14, 18. So yeah, I could have saved more than half of what I lost. And I think in the future, if I remember this and I trade appropriately, this can be a great learning lesson. And then hopefully maybe the next time there's a big tsunami panic bounce play, maybe not necessarily TGGI, but another one, and it works, that will be super profitable, and I'll only try it once. And I think that's a really good lesson. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people looking up TGGI on YouTube. This thing never bounced. It didn't have to, of course. It did here. I don't know if this is real or not, but it did have some prints after hours. If tomorrow it opens like at 75, that is super sketchy. That is the kind of stuff that would involve the SEC, I think, because that's just a little too sketchy. And the worst part about TGGI's future, I think, is that something like this burns so many people. Although it did offer a bounce right here, but it burns so many people by not offering a bounce that people are not just going to trade it. Because if a stock is just too ugly or too crazy, like this one to trade, or too manipulated, I just feel like people are not going to consider putting in money in it because they just don't like it, or they got, just a bad vibe from it after what it did. And then, how are they going to make money, the people behind this stock, if people don't want to buy it anymore because of the way it trades? That's just a thought, but it did offer this one, for sure. And of course, it didn't have to bounce. I think it had like some horrible news about a reverse split. I'm not extremely sure, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Just gonna call it off right here. A lot of good lessons learned, and definitely, it was a bigger red day, but I didn't do anything too stupid. But I think with what I went over right now, I can be able to trade something like this in the future. And if it doesn't work out like this one, I can, not lose as much as I did, which is gonna be good. All right, just a quick update. I actually noticed that I didn't include GTII, so the actual number is 21 bucks. Boohoo, $2 more, and I just didn't include it here. I have it added now, and just to briefly go over GTII because I did trade this one. I could have traded it a lot better. This first attempt was totally fine. It didn't work out, but I shouldn't have hesitated once it downtrended and held VWAP, and then it looked like it was trying to do it again. At least I did try right here when it was 550. I just didn't get filled, unfortunately, and this was a nice spike to the high 580s, and then I think it broke a trend line. Yeah, this uptrending trend line. So that would have been a sell signal for any remaining shares that I might have had. And initially, if I was in, from 520 and then I sold in the 560s, once it broke the line, this would have been very profitable and I actually would have not as lost as much as I did today. So that's good that there's always potential. There's always something that, I see that I can do better. And then once it broke, I guess this downtrending trend line. Maybe this could have been another setup. And afterwards, there wasn't really anything else that I wanted to do with it. But there was plenty of good price action in the morning. Yeah, just wanted to make this last piece here just to go over the actual number and GTII since I didn't have that in the spreadsheets or how it did afterwards. That's it for today.